introduce Commander Zoe Dunning of Oakland, who serves on the California Veterans Board. She retired from the United States Navy Supply Corps, and she served on active duty from 1985 to 1991, and then the reserves from 1991 to 2007. She was one of the leaders in the efforts to repeal Don't Ask, Don't Tell. In 1993, she came out publicly as a lesbian and subsequently won her Don't Ask, Don't Tell administrative discharge hearing and served as an open lesbian for 13 years in the Navy Reserves prior to the repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell. She stood next to President Obama as he signed the repeal legislation in 2010. And she also currently serves on the United States World War I Centennial Commission as an advisory board member for the nonprofit Vets in Tech and as a board president for the nonprofit Wall of Vets. She holds an MBA from Stanford University and is a 1985 graduate of the United States Naval Academy. Welcome, Commander Dunning. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for that introduction. I'm so pleased to be here among such esteemed colleagues. Thank you, everyone, for sharing your stories. Dr. Baciani, General Adams, Colonel, Lonnie, I hope I'm not missing anyone here. There's just so many amazing stories. And I think I want to take a moment to acknowledge that, you know, we have a place on the agenda to share our stories, but everyone here, everyone who's attending this ceremony has your own story and how Don't Ask, Don't Tell or the policies prior to it may have impacted you. So I'd like to take a moment just to sort of acknowledge that. And for those of you who are Zoom savvy and know at the bottom of the screen where it's got reactions, you can click on that and it's got like a little raise your hand. And what I'd ask is to take a moment. And for those of you who are here who have been impacted in some way or another, either you were in the service or you supported those who are impacted. If you were impacted in any way by either Don't Ask, Don't Tell or the policies prior to it, or the transgender ban, if you could take a moment just to raise your hand on Zoom. I want to acknowledge that because I think so many more have been impacted and have stories to tell. Michael, Jeff, thank you. Jacob, Jose, Tori. Anyone else? Floyd. I'm missing you. Joe, I see. Julianne. Sean, Michael. Thanks for that, because I just really want to acknowledge that this policy impacted so many people. We heard just a few stories, but I think the general quoted some of the statistics, but over the course of overall Don't Ask, Don't Tell, over 13,000 people were discharged from the military. And if you want to get a sense of what the scope of that is the size of the population of Half Moon Bay. That's the size of the population of Malibu. That's the size of the population of Healdsburg, California. Imagine every single man, woman, and child in all of those cities losing employment just for who they are. And that's essentially what the Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy ended up doing. And that doesn't even count, those 13,000 don't even count all the people who voluntarily resigned because they didn't want to, you know, re-enlist, or they didn't want to continue living a lie, or never joined the military in the first place because they didn't want to live in that kind of an environment. I want to acknowledge two esteemed colleagues who are not on the agenda today. Hugh Crooks is here. I serve on the California Veterans Board, and Hugh Crooks is the chair of the board. So Chairman Crooks, thank you for being here today and for showing up and sharing, you know, hearing everyone's stories and sharing the board here. I also want to acknowledge Jeff Petrie is here. Jeff and I have known each other for many, many years. California resident, Jeff founded the USNA Out, which was the organization of alumni, LGBTQ plus alumni of the US Naval Academy, back at a time when it was quite a brave act to try to organize such an alumni group. There was a lot of resistance from Annapolis, and this was prior to the repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and he really fought the good fight and is really an icon and a leader in our movement. So we want to acknowledge all of the leadership that's represented in this Zoom call, not just those that we've heard from, but also just everyone here has had some part and taken some part in where we are today, 10 years later after the repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell. I also want to, give a little bit of background on, yes, I had an opportunity. I came out publicly in '93 and went through 2 discharge hearings, one under the policy prior to Don't Ask, Don't Tell, but before they could discharge me, they announced Don't Ask, Don't Tell. And somehow I slipped through in the process and won my case and was able to serve as, I think, basically the only openly gay member of the US military for 13 years. And that was quite an experience to, go into a unit and have everyone sort of know, but they couldn't really do anything about it. But I had to sort of be careful what I said and did, because I felt like I was representing every single openly gay, every single gay and lesbian LGBTQ member of the US military. And it was quite a responsibility, but I took that responsibility seriously. And one of the things I did was got involved with an organization that many of you may have known of called Service Members Legal Defense Network, based in Washington, D.C. And they at first provided free legal services to those who are impacted by the policy, but then also did the legislative work to try to repeal it and work in Congress and on the Pentagon and on Capitol Hill. And, when I first came out, I had shipmates who basically were questioning me and asking, like, why are you trying to shame the military? Why are you trying to shame the military? Why are you trying to embarrass us by being so public about this? And I said, I'm not trying to shame the military. I'm trying to shame a policy that is making the military weaker. I'm trying to shame us because we are not yet as good as we can be as a military. And we are turning down and kicking out fully qualified and effective young men and women who want to serve their country. So that's a little bit of my history. One thing I want to also acknowledge is the importance of straight allies. So Don't Ask, Don't Tell repeal would never have happened without 2 crucial straight allies that we had involved on Capitol Hill. The first would be Patrick Murphy. For those of you who don't know, Patrick Murphy was the first Iraq war veteran who was elected to Congress, and he served in the House of Representatives, and he just saw it as an injustice. Even though he was a straight cisgendered white male, he recognized that this was an injustice. And so he worked alongside Speaker Pelosi and really whipped up the votes in the House to enable Don't Ask, Don't Tell repeal to pass the House of Representatives. Critical ally and had a critical role in the repeal. And I also want to acknowledge Admiral Mike Mullen, who was the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff at the time. And without his testimony and without his leadership and without him stepping forward and testifying before Congress and saying that this is an issue of integrity, it's an issue of integrity of the individuals in the military, and it's an issue of integrity of the institution. Without that testimony, we would never have repealed Don't Ask, Don't Tell. And so I want to acknowledge and thank all of the allies who saw this as an injustice and have stepped forward and contributed in some small way. But really today, we've had this amazing series of conversations, but the stars of the show are the 4 awardees for the California Veterans Awards that we're going to be giving out here today. And they really are the stars of the show. And I have to acknowledge and recognize whoever selected these 4. You did a beautiful job. You got an Army vet, a Navy vet, an Air Force vet, and a Marine vet. So you've covered all of the services. The Coast Guard and the Space Force might be a little upset, but you're a little less mature in the cycle. So we might catch you next time. But we do have a great representation of all of the services. And I want to do a brief introduction of each of the awardees and give them an opportunity to speak, because really that's what we're here for today. Is we've talked a lot about the past and the history and where we are, but these folks are the future. These are the people who are serving our veterans, who are giving veterans voices, representation. Those of us who joined the military did it because we have a sense of service. And these 4 I couldn't think of 4 better people to represent what service is all about, because once we leave the military, we still have that sense of duty, that sense of wanting to be part of something bigger than ourselves. And so these 4 represent that sense of service, whether it be employment or education or housing or public safety. They all have stepped up and stepped forward to serve their communities, to serve their cities, and to serve all of us in their roles as proud LGBTQ veterans and people who are providing necessary services to the state of California and others. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce the first one, and these are in no particular order. The first awardee is a Navy vet, because I'm Navy. Actually, there is an intention, like I want the Navy to go first, right? So the first awardee is a Navy veteran who, after leaving the Navy, earned his master's degree from the University of San Francisco here in the Bay Area, and has become an incredible advocate for veterans. He works in the Employment Development Department. So for those of you who aren't aware, this handles like basically helping folks find employment, filing for unemployment benefits, whatever it might be. And all of us who have served in the military know that once you leave the military and all that structure and all those services are available to you, you can feel a little lost. You come out of the military and you're like, I don't know where to find a job. I don't know how to find a job. I don't know how to make a resume. I want to file for unemployment until I find a job, but like, I don't even know how that works. And so we need people, advocates within these departments, within these agencies that help us navigate through. And that's what this awardee has done in his role in the California Employment Development Department. I also went online and snuck a little peek to get to know this gentleman a little bit better. And he's also conversant in Mandarin, Chinese, and Spanish. So I'm going to challenge him to actually give us awards speech in at least 2 languages and demonstrate his bilingual skills. So without further ado, I really want to acknowledge and recognize our first awardee from this evening, Joe Engel.
Hello,
Now,
everybody.
Joe, you get an opportunity to speak. There you go.
Oh, 谢谢大家. Anyway, that's my Chinese, my Mandarin for right now, because it's. I just want to thank everybody who's here with me today. These are a lot of my friends here in Sacramento, and I want to reach out to my friends also in Healdsburg and San Francisco and Oakland. And I want to thank Virginia Whitmer for nominating me. She was the CVSO or the San Joaquin CVSO, and who I worked with on a publication in my last job at NNR Publications, and where I was working with CVSOs throughout the state and helping to get the word out about veteran benefits. Knowing that in the chorus that I'm in, the Sacramento Gay Men's Chorus, and the percentage of veterans there are in that group, and as you can see, or as you've heard from a lot of the speakers before, there's a larger percentage of gay vets than people think. So I imagine that people that are coming into this county veteran service offices, a percentage of those people were gay. So it was really great to be a part of that outreach with NNR Publications. And I want to thank Jeff Voncano for giving me that opportunity to work there. And I am working at the EDD in the JVSG and Jobs for Veterans State Grant Unit, and working with them right now. Just in my 2nd month, so I haven't done a whole lot there yet. So, but I'm looking to do some good things. And I just want to thank everybody for their support throughout the years, my transition from military life to civilian life. And a lot of you have been there along the way. And that's all I have to say. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Joe. Love that you had the crowd there with you, celebrating with you. So thank you for sharing that. The next awardee is our Army vet representative. He is hailing from San Diego, which many of us know there's a huge veteran population in San Diego and a lot of need for services and a lot of need for support in that community. And after leaving the Army, this particular gentleman, he became a really strong advocate for ensuring that, the LGBTQ voice is never silenced. And he remains very active in a number of organizations in the San Diego area. He is involved with the Lambda Archives at the San Diego History Center. He's involved with Gay for Good, which I love that title. I want to learn much more about that organization. That sounds fabulous. And also Habitat for Humanity. I talked about like the need for shelter and the important work that Habitat for Humanity does. And finally, sings in the San Diego Gay Men's Chorus. So I'm going to challenge him to sing his acceptance speech for us. But anyways, without further ado, I really want to acknowledge and recognize and celebrate Jackson Redmond.
I just wanted to say, no, I'm not going to sing. So I'm not great at public speaking or Zoom speaking, but I just want to say thank you so much for this. I enjoyed my time serving in the Army. See, I was an engineer. It opened up so many doors for me in real life. I would have stayed in it my whole life, but I just, I was establishing these friendships and these bonds, but I couldn't tell anybody about what was going on in my personal life. And everybody wanted to know, I'm the guy that comes out and I'll ask you how you're doing. And then they'd ask how I was doing. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm seeing Amanda still. Yes. And, for so many years. And it just, I got tired of looking over my shoulder, and it's so awesome to see everything that's changed over the years. And I moved from the South. I grew up in a very, very independent Baptist, which think that Southern Baptists are too liberal. And then so that made basic training and everything a breeze. It made the military, I loved it. I loved the structure. I loved everything about it. And then I moved to California in my early 20s and found out that there were other gay people like me. And it changed my entire life. And then I ended up meeting my husband. And yes, but anyway, I'm not great at public speaking. So thank you so much for this. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Jackson. And you did just fine. You were great at public speaking. So don't say anything bad about that. So thank you for that talk. And you came from the South. Well, I also did a little bit of research on our next awardee, who is representing the Air Force contingent here. So next we have the Air Force vet that we want to spotlight today. He's going to look really familiar because you may have seen him in an earlier conversation here. So the Air Force veteran is also in San Diego, an integral member of the San Diego LGBTQ community. I believe originally hails from Washington State, and fell in love with San Diego and moved there, and has been a big integral member of the San Diego community ever since. He currently serves as the executive director of the Stonewall Citizens Patrol, ensuring that we have safety and security on the streets for our LGBTQ community. He's the co-festival manager of San Diego Pride. If anyone's ever been involved in a Pride, you know how complicated that is and the organizational skills that it takes and the negotiations and compromise and ability to get along. So that's really an amazing role. And then also is the LGBTQ Community Advisory Board member for the city of San Diego. So we're super excited to give our next award to Air Force veteran Sean Redmond, who is, I believe, sitting next to our prior awardee, Jackson.
Well, thank you all. Just listening to the stories and the presentations prior to us tonight, it shows where we've came from and where we need to get to, and we still have a long ways to get to. So I definitely would like to remind us that we have a lot of work ahead of us, especially for our transgender siblings. And so let's keep up this momentum, keep up this fight, and let's make sure we get this right. But what I always found, was in the beginning, I never really felt invited, even though I was able to sign up and serve. I just never really felt like I was really invited there because of the secret that I could tell folks. And so one of the things that we try to do now is we try to ensure that everyone's invited to be part of our community. And we do that through working with our younger generations of LGBTQ folks. But we also work with getting out there and building allies and educating our current allies on better ways of where we can all be one community and ensure everyone's there and is invited to the table to make it better for all of us. So I feel greatly honored to be recognized as the Air Force veteran for this presentation. Again, thank you all. And let's keep up the fight together, and we'll get there. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it, Sean. All right. And now he's off camera. They're probably, celebrating. And our final award is for the Marines. The Marines are usually the first. They're usually the ones that establish the beachhead, but this time we've saved the Marines for last. And when I read her bio, I was just so incredibly moved and impressed because as Lonnie described, and as Lonnie talked about, how difficult it can be to be the only and the first, and to have to stand up there and represent and you know, be that leader is incredibly difficult. And this Marine veteran was one of the very first, actually was, yeah, one of the first out trans women to serve on congressional staff. I mean, imagine what that must be like to be serving on a congressional staff and be an out trans woman, and what that must feel like, and all the challenges that you have to take on with that. Supporting Congressman Gil Cisneros. She also actually serves as the president of the Orange County Veterans Democratic Club. Orange County's changed, folks. If you had some, stereotypes about Orange County and it being like super conservative, it is changing, but only because of leaders like this awardee who are stepping forward and becoming visible and demonstrating that, I think in the last congressional elections, we had, we flipped everything blue in, or not we, but I mean, I don't want to get political. I'm just saying, like, it's changed in terms of acceptance and inclusiveness. Orange County has, and so she is the president of the Orange County Veterans Democratic Club, a founding member and co-chair for the Lavender Democrats of Orange County, and is a member of the Board of Advisors for the Equality of California Institute, and as Supervisor Doug Chafee's appointee to the Orange County Veterans Advisory Council. So if you want to have anything to do with anything veteran in Orange County, I think this is the woman that you turn to. And so it's super exciting to recognize and acknowledge all that she's done. So I want to celebrate and announce the next awardee, Stephanie Wade.
Hi, thanks, Zoe. I really appreciate that. And I wanted to start by thanking Senator Umberg for nominating me for this. And I also wanted to thank Dr. Imbasciani and Deputy Secretary Rodriguez Murillo, not only for leading this remembrance event, but more broadly for the special attention they've paid to the special needs of an underserved and often doubly invisible population of LGBT veterans. I'd also like to say that Ben Gale, who's the Calvet rep here in Orange County, has been a particularly great ally to LGBT veterans, and is really, together with the stand downs that I've attended with Calvet and up in Los Angeles, I think, we're really doing some great work, all of us together. And, so that makes it a particular honor to be recognized tonight. And if I could say one thing more, it would be to encourage the folks, everyone on this call, to continue to work for LGBT military and veteran equity. There's a lot left to be done. There are many straight folks who are going to need reminding that we haven't corrected many of the past and even many of the ongoing wrongs at DOD and VA and in the broader culture. And we know that after the end of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, a lot of folks said, oh, well, we solved the problem. Well, as Dr. Imbasciani started us out noting, there are more than 130,000 veterans who have, bad conduct related discharges, 13,000 of them just since the end of Don't Ask, or just during the period of Don't Ask, Don't Tell. So, there's still a great deal that needs to be done. And so, I'm about to drop my email and my phone number into the chat, and anybody who'd like to continue to work on, the egregious issue of LGBT discharges. I have a working group here in Southern California working with a couple of elected officials. And I've been in close touch with some people in Congress to try and get a more fundamental fix to the inequity of all those past discharge wrongs. And the other thing I'd like to say is that I've been in touch with Chairman Mark Takano, and Mark Takano has a bill that I'm going to drop the number of in the chat. It's HR 1596, and it's a bill to create a commission on the past and ongoing discrimination faced by LGBT service members and veterans. And it's really modeled on what Senator Daniel Inouye did in 1980 in creating a commission to look at Japanese internment. And that led almost, very quickly in a period of a couple of years to an official apology by the US government signed by Ronald Reagan and Tip O'Neill, apologizing for, Japanese internment, and very quickly to reparations. That's the kind of truth and reconciliation that Chairman Takano thinks we need, and I agree with him. And so I've got a simple ask that I'll drop in the chat. Great if you want to contact me about military discharge reform, but I'm going to ask everyone that's here, go look up who your congressional representative is, and I'm dropping it in the chat, HR 1596. Please write to your representative and ask them to become a co-sponsor of that bill with Chairman Mark Takano, so we can really keep the fight going and continue to make progress. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Stephanie. And let's have another round of applause for all 4 of the awardees. Really brilliant, wonderful, grateful for your service. And with that, I believe I'm going to turn it back over to Xochitl.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Commander Dunning. Congratulations, everyone. Big round of applause. We appreciate you. And we're grateful that we had your nominations come to us and, you know, that we had the opportunity to have Commander Dunning present those to you. Fantastic. All right, folks. So to close up this feature, I first want to say we're going to go ahead and have another presentation from Queer Voices. Then we're going to open up and have open forum for any of you that would like to share your story. I do want to emphasize for those of you who watched part of this, maybe not watch it all, or you want to share it with a friend, we are going to feature this presentation on our website later on this week. Fantastic. And with that, I'd like to bring on Jake Tragu from Queer Voices, who is going to share spoken word with us.
Thank you, Sochi. My name is Jacob Traugott. It is a pleasure to be here. I'm incredibly touched by the stories that I've heard, Admiral Adams and everyone since, and you are just remarkable human beings. And it is a privilege to be able to present for you today. I am a former homeless person, become homeless advocate in the last 10 years. I teach ethics at Sac City College in Sacramento, and I'm going to perform a spoken word for you today. I am a little nervous about performing in front of distinguished veterans as opposed to my normal audience of college students. But before I read it, just 30 seconds, the first person I ever dated is a trans man born in Arkansas. I met him when he was an Army baby and an Army brat. And he joined the Air Force under Don't Ask, Don't Tell, under the masquerade of a woman. Could not be seen with me for the entire time that we were together. And after we split, mainly due to distance, as I'm sure a lot of you would know that experience, they were able to transition and be their authentic self under the stewardship of President Obama's legacy. And then a year after, still with appointments using TRICARE for gender reaffirming, the transgender ban took place. Luckily, they were able to find exemption because they started these official procedures under old policy, made the environment incredibly hazardous. And we know through empirical study and data that unit cohesion is only improved by being your authentic and true self and being able to represent your own dignity within your units. And the people who are here today who are making that more possible are heroes, as all of you already are. And I'm very proud to be able to read something that I've written to you. This is a poem about history, because a lot of mine are, because a lot of the people that I do this for are very young and they don't know anyone that looks like them yet. And I want to change that narrative. It might not be with the best audience, but it is the one I thought sounded most like what you were describing. So this is called History and Prophecy, or Queers Never Die. They will teach you about the most famous queers of all time. They will name them and say their deeds. They will tell you everything of note, except that they were queer. They will teach you red and blue, but nothing of that violet hue, no lavender lanes or white night riots or righteous agony and ecstasy and pride. No, you will get so much red and so much blue that you will see yourself only there too. They will teach you nothing, and that will say volumes about a future with nothing for you. They will teach you that you are an aberration in this world, that they will teach you that you are an unnatural occurrence, that God is upset about it. They will say nothing about joy or names or poetry. Even the smartest and most can never see what is never shown to be. And if you envision a future, what are you supposed to see if you are the only one like you? If you are the only one like me? So you see, learn your language and learn that the shape of you might be freeform, but there's a name for that shape because we have seen it before. Learn that as long as there have been words on tongues, there have been names for you if you want them. Learn that amongst the most profound talent of Shakespeare and Dickinson is your family name. Learn that wars have been fought between alleys and city halls based on what you are called. Learn that there is so much you in history, that you painted the Sistine Chapel and wore the first flower crown. Learn that be you fag or fairy, trans or queer, that you have stood here always. And that forever is yours, be it boring or spectacular or some little slice of life in between. Learn that you are unique, but not rare. That you are more statistically common than red hair. That everywhere and everyone has you there, and that history has been taught to you unfair, because the word homosexual was added to the Bible in 1946, because Vestal Virgin meant lesbian, because queers were shamans and elders, because history is all of you and not theirs. They are what is new. Because beyond battles and strife, beyond all the hate in this life, you, while unique, are normal. The shape of you and what you will grow into has always been, will always be. And for those too scared or hateful to see, it is easier if all they have to fight is me. Not us or elders or authors or emperors or shamans or doctors or politicians or veterans or history. Just you or just me as firsts and lasts of a rare story that they will see no one ever tell, lest we grow too tall to fell. But far from rainbows and votes and today, yesterday, and tomorrow, far from the night that envelops you and the light that you will soon see. Far from when it gets better and the better that will be, far from love and far from, there is you, far, far into the future too. Because you, the names and poetry be, because as far as humanity will ever see, queers will never die. We have always been, we will always be. It is just you, and it is not just me. Thank you so much, everyone. It is time for the other people jump in segment.
Thank you, Jacob. Beautifully done, folks. Jacob from Queer Voices. And thank you to also Javen and Rhodey, to our participants, Dr. Mbasiani, David from the LGBT Center, Admiral Adams, Dr. Ramirez, Lonnie, Colonel Beagles, and anyone that I may have missed. And our utmost congratulations to all of our honorees today. Joe, Jackson, Sean, and Stephanie, and Commander Dunning, thank you so much for that presentation of the awards. Now, folks, please go out there and continue to spread the work that needs to be done. And we're very grateful here at Calvet to partner with you. And we look forward to future partnerships as well, as we hopefully start getting out there once things are safe in the community. Fantastic. So we'd love to open it up for you to either share your comments, raise your hand, let us know. We'd love to open the mic, and you can also unmute yourself. And we're also open to you sending us your story by email if you want us to share. We can do that also as well on our social media pages. And we'd like to be able to feature your story with the community out there. All right, friends, thank you so much. Thank you all for your comments in the chat. All right, friends.
I have a comment.
Yes.
Hey, it's Jeff Petrie.
Hi,
I
Jeff.
didn't know about Zoe. Hi, I didn't know about Zoe Dunning when I was at the Naval Academy. She's 4 classes ahead of me. I did not realize the difference that she was about to make, and she made it while I was serving as a naval officer on a ship in Long Beach. I wasn't quite in touch with that, but I eventually realized what she was doing. I mean, she was the only out lesbian in the United States Armed Forces for 13 years. She lived in San Francisco and she paid to go to Washington, D.C. to serve in her Naval Reserve Unit at the Pentagon in her 1 weekend a month. I mean, I thought that was amazing. What an incredible commitment that was. And so when I found myself in a position of power, just as a Naval Academy grad, to come out and find other civilian Naval Academy grads, LG, B, and T, where we could request our own alumni chapter so that we could make a difference for those who followed in our footsteps, we did it. And, you know, my life since the military has not been the best. I've had my ups and my downs for sure. But the best thing that I've ever done in my life is make a difference for other people. That is the best thing I've ever done. So when I was sitting in the 7th row center at President Obama's signing ceremony for the repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, that happened on December 22nd, 2010. And I was so honored to be invited to that. And there was Zoe, who you know, administered the awards tonight, standing right next to him. And Eric Alva, who stepped on a landmine when he was in Iraq. And he came out when George Bush was visiting him in the hospital. And Eric Alva decided, I'm going to make a difference. So we sometimes find ourselves in a position where we can make a difference. And I think it's the best thing we can possibly do in our lives. And this call has been fantastic and just inspiring more energy for making a difference. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Jeff.
All right.
Awesome, friends. So we have quite a few comments in the chat feature. If we missed any of you, let us know.
So Jill,
Yes, sir.
it's Dr. Vito here. And thanks this is extraordinary. I'm just, I know I'm always blessed to be in the presence of angels, but there is so much talent on this call. I wish it just could be beamed into every Californian's home. So thank you for pulling together this extraordinary assemblage. I feel a little embarrassed. Jacob, you're extraordinary. I don't speak in iambic tetrameter or dactylic hexameter, but I wish I could, because your poetry is so powerful, but you're surrounded by people who live poetic lives. They speak poetry, and you address that so profoundly. Zoe, I've known you for a while, but I had no idea, my dear. So I want to meet each and every one of you, and I hope we can. We have to do a little bit more of this. I'm very touched. Thank you all.
That's right, sir. And friends, you can sign up you can sign up on our roster to receive our future newsletters and information on events that we hold. And yeah, echo the sentiment of the secretary, and that we need to do more of this and come together, because we have a lot of allies on here. And we're going to save the chat feature for any folks looking for some of that information, whether it's bill numbers or resources, to get those to you. All right, folks. Anyone else out there?
Yes, I'd like to say something.
Yeah.
My name is, hi. My name is Ellie Painted Crow, and I'm a 22-year Army vet. And Jacob, I want to say that was an amazing poem. Thank you so much. Put a book out there, man, with those words, because they need to be heard. Pretty powerful. So I just want to say that and acknowledge all of the people who are doing the good work. I am an ally, and I became very aware of the pain that people experience while learning who they are, because in my day, I'm in my 60s, I supported, in those days they called it transsexual, uncle who became my aunt, and suffered so much from family members, from communities, from you name it, had substance abuse issues because there was no support in those days. And she was very brave to step out and become her true self. And I was her only support family-wise for decades. And she just passed recently. And unfortunately, I hadn't seen her for a couple of decades. And I hope she had a good life. As an Indigenous woman, I am very aware also of two-spirit communities that exist out here in California. And I have supported a lot of those communities out of Oakland for at least a decade. I'm a ceremonialist. I'm Yaqui and Mayan, and I do a lot of ceremony. And so I just want to put a call out there to include the two-spirit communities from the Indigenous people out in California and everywhere else. I didn't see a lot of that happening today, so I just wanted to represent as a supporter that community, and hopefully, that can lend a bigger voice somewhere, because they are doing amazing things as well. And just wanted to offer up my support that way and say that I'm also a drummer, and I hold a drum called Turtle Women Rising, an organization, and I'm building a webpage that's going to be, that is for veterans. There is a page that is for veterans because I know what it is to experience all the different racisms and isms in the military. And I don't have any information, and I've been cut off for a long time because I had a stroke. And so I'm just coming back to community and coming back to rebuilding my website, and would like the support of the people here to perhaps be able to put some things on my website that support two-spirit communities, LGBT. I just say two-spirit because that's what I know. It's not to be disrespectful in any way. That's just my understanding of communities. And so, Jacob, if you want to offer up a poem, I'm happy to post it. Or anybody who wants to offer up something to my page. It's not up on live yet because I've had to rebuild it after a decade, and so it's taking time. But I just wanted to say that you have an ally here. I'm in Merced, California, and a supporter. And my aunt lived with me for a long time, so I was able to see how much trauma is endured in standing up for who you are and who you grow to be within yourself. And I support that. And I have 10 grandchildren, so I want to make sure that there's space for them to find themselves and stand up with pride. And you all are, veterans or not, allies, whatever, you all are paving the way for my grandchildren who make choices that are going to be totally supported and respected, and hopefully a bigger community to embrace them. So I just wanted to say that and offer my gratitude for you all making this time and bringing this voice out, and say thank you. Thank you for building community this way.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ellie. I'm grateful to see you and appreciate your words of wisdom today. Friends, we're getting close to the hour, but I want to express my immense gratitude for y'all making time to join this webinar. And we all know it, right? We do ask, we do tell, and continue to push on for change and positive change, and to continue to connect veterans to all of us, to each other as a community, and to continue to connect our veterans to the benefits and resources that they have so rightfully earned through their service. So thank you very much for joining us. Have a safe evening, and you know where to reach us. If you missed this webinar, we're going to go ahead and post it, and we'll keep you up to speed on what's going to take place. And let's continue to make it happen, folks. Have a nice evening.
Thank you to everyone for this. This was great.
Thank you, Stephanie. Congratulations to you, to all the awardees. Great job.